Imagine serving your country as an elite Navy sniper, risking your life in combat zones, only to be handcuffed and humiliated by police back home. This is the shocking story of Petty Officer James Carter, a decorated sniper who faced suspicion and disrespect, until a four-star general stepped in to set things right. What happened that day changed everything. Petty Officer James Carter is not your typical serviceman. A Navy sniper with multiple combat tours under his belt, James has earned numerous medals for bravery and precision in some of the world's most dangerous war zones. His skills are legendary among his peers, silent, steady, and deadly when duty calls. But what sets James apart isn't just his military record, it's his humility. Despite his extraordinary service, James carries himself with quiet dignity. He doesn't boast about his achievements or seek the spotlight. To those who know him, he's a man of few words, a man who lets his actions speak louder than any medal. After years deployed overseas, James has come home for a rare visit, a chance to reconnect with family and find peace in the familiar. It's a warm afternoon in his hometown, a place where the streets are filled with childhood memories and loved ones waiting with open arms. As he steps out of his car, wearing a simple jacket but still carrying the weight of his uniform's legacy in his heart, James looks forward to the comfort of family dinners and quiet evenings. But on this day, something unexpected awaits him, something that would challenge not just his patience, but his very identity as a warrior and a citizen. This story isn't just about one man's service. It's about respect, recognition, and the struggle veterans sometimes face when the uniform comes off. After parking his car near a bustling downtown area, James Carter prepared to meet an old friend for lunch. The streets were alive with activity, people chatting, cars honking, and the hum of everyday life in full swing. James stepped out calmly, carrying only a small bag and his military ID tucked safely in his wallet. But almost immediately, two police officers noticed him. Their eyes narrowed as they approached, their body language tense and wary. "Sir, what are you doing here?" one officer asked, his tone sharp and suspicious. James raised his hand slightly, showing no hostility. "I'm just here to meet a friend," he replied evenly. The officers weren't convinced. One of them asked for ID. James pulled out his military ID and handed it over. "This guy's claiming he's a Navy sniper," the other officer muttered under his breath, barely glancing at the card. James patiently explained, "Yes, I'm Petty Officer James Carter. I've served multiple tours overseas." But his words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The officers exchanged skeptical glances. "Sorry, sir, but we have reports of suspicious activity in this area," the first officer said. "We need to verify who you are." Despite showing his medals and recounting some of his service, the officer's suspicion only deepened. The conversation grew tense as more officers arrived. Without warning, the officers moved to handcuff James. "You're being detained for further investigation," one officer announced. James didn't resist. His face showed shock. How could this happen to someone who had risked his life for his country? Bystanders stopped and stared. Several pulled out their phones, capturing the scene. Whispers turned to murmurs, and murmurs grew into vocal protests. James kept calm, hands behind his back, but inside, the sting of humiliation cut deep. The man who had faced danger in foreign lands was now being treated like a criminal on home soil. The crowd grew larger, tension mounting as people demanded answers. What started as a routine afternoon had turned into a moment that would soon capture national attention and ignite a powerful conversation about respect, identity, and justice. The video footage from bystanders' phones spread quickly. Social media platforms exploded with posts showing Petty Officer James Carter being handcuffed despite calmly presenting his military credentials. The images struck a nerve. Viewers were stunned. How could a decorated Navy sniper, someone who risked his life in service to the nation, be treated like a suspect in his own community? Within hours, hashtags like #JusticeForJames, #RespectOurVeterans, and #WrongfullyHandcuffed began trending. People from all walks of life expressed their outrage, sharing the videos and demanding answers from the local police department. Veterans groups issued statements condemning the incident. Community leaders called for a full investigation. Many noted that this wasn't just an isolated case, but part of a larger pattern of veterans, especially those of color, facing disrespect and mistrust when they return home. National news outlets soon caught on. Reporters reached out to eyewitnesses, neighbors, and even military experts to understand the full story behind the viral clip. Interviews highlighted James Carter's distinguished service record and the shock felt by many who watched the incident unfold. Political figures and activists joined the conversation, urging authorities to take responsibility and to ensure such disrespectful treatment never happens again. Talk shows and morning news programs invited James to share his experience and discuss the challenges veterans face when reintegrating into civilian life. Social media debates swirled around systemic issues, racial profiling, implicit bias, and how veterans are often overlooked despite their sacrifices. The local police department faced mounting pressure. They issued a brief statement acknowledging the incident but stopped short of an apology. The public reaction, however, made it clear that silence was no longer an option. For James Carter, what began as a routine day had quickly turned into a national story, a painful reminder that service to one's country doesn't always guarantee respect back home. But it also became a catalyst, sparking conversations that demanded change. As the outrage over James Carter's wrongful handcuffing swelled, word reached the highest levels of the Navy. Among those deeply troubled by the incident was General Thomas Reynolds, a respected four-star admiral known for his unwavering commitment to integrity and justice. General Reynolds had served decades in the Navy, leading with honor through some of the most challenging times in military history. His reputation extended beyond his military accomplishments. He was also a fierce advocate for veterans' rights and dignity. When General Reynolds first heard about the incident, he didn't hesitate. Without waiting for formal requests or protocols, he decided to take action personally. Arriving at the local police station, the general's presence commanded immediate attention. Cameras and reporters followed as he stepped into the building, determined to set the record straight. In a public statement delivered inside the police precinct, General Reynolds addressed not only the officers involved but the entire community. Petty Officer James Carter is a decorated Navy sniper who has risked his life for this country, Reynolds declared firmly. The treatment he received is unacceptable and a deep insult to all who serve. Turning toward James, the general extended a sincere apology. On behalf of the Navy, and every American who values service and sacrifice, I apologize to you. No veteran should ever be treated with suspicion when they have given so much for our freedom. General Reynolds didn't stop there. He called for immediate reforms, urging the police department to implement mandatory sensitivity and veterans recognition training for all officers. Understanding and respect must be the foundation of every interaction, he said. We must ensure this never happens again, not just here, but across the nation. His statement resonated widely, making headlines and pushing the conversation from outrage to accountability. The general's intervention was more than symbolic. It was a powerful message that respect for those who serve isn't optional. It demanded action, accountability, and a change in how veterans are treated on the home front. For James Carter, having a four-star admiral stand beside him was a profound moment, proof that honor and dignity could prevail even when systems failed. In the days following the incident, James Carter sat down for a candid interview. His calm voice carried the weight of someone who had seen much but remained grounded. When those officers handcuffed me, James began, I felt a mixture of disbelief and pain. I had served my country honorably, risking my life in dangerous places, and yet here I was, treated like a suspect on my own soil. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But I knew reacting with anger wouldn't help. I've learned in the military that control and patience are just as important as courage. James spoke openly about the unique challenges veterans face once they return to civilian life. We're expected to be heroes, but often we feel invisible or misunderstood. The uniform comes off, and suddenly, people forget the sacrifices behind it. The incident reopened wounds he had long tried to heal. There's also the reality of racial bias. As a black veteran, I've faced moments where my service was questioned simply because of my skin color. This wasn't new, but it still hurt deeply. Despite everything, James chose forgiveness. I don't want this to be a story of bitterness. Instead, it's a call for respect, something every veteran deserves. He also embraced a new role, as an advocate for change. I'm using this experience to speak out, to push for better training for law enforcement, and to raise awareness about how veterans, especially those of color, are treated. James's message was clear and powerful. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you give freely. And when you don't, lives can be affected. He ended with a quiet hope. I want future veterans to be honored not just on Memorial Day or Veterans Day, but every single day. Because every day, someone is serving, wearing that uniform, and they deserve to be seen for who they are. James Carter's courage went beyond the battlefield. It was now about changing hearts and systems, ensuring that dignity and respect are never denied again. James Carter's experience shines a harsh light on a larger problem that many veterans, particularly those of color, face across the nation: discrimination and mistrust even after they have served their country with honor. While veterans are often celebrated in public ceremonies and national holidays, their day-to-day reality can be very different. Many return to communities where their service is overlooked, or worse, where they encounter prejudice rooted in racial bias. For Black veterans like James, this double burden of fighting for their country abroad and then facing discrimination at home is a painful and frustrating reality. One key area where this tension often surfaces is in interactions with law enforcement. Police officers are tasked with protecting communities, but when implicit bias influences their judgment, it can lead to tragic misunderstandings and wrongful treatment. Experts agree that training is essential. Police officers need to be educated not only about recognizing military service but also about the unique challenges veterans face. This includes understanding the sacrifices veterans have made and the potential mental health issues like PTSD, which may affect behavior in high-stress situations. Moreover, sensitivity training on racial bias is crucial. Implicit bias, subconscious stereotypes and prejudices, can cause officers to misjudge veterans of color, interpreting their actions as threats rather than signs of honor and discipline. Studies show that veterans of color are more likely to experience negative police encounters compared to their white counterparts. This disparity highlights a systemic issue that goes beyond isolated incidents. Community leaders and advocacy groups emphasize the importance of dialogue between veterans and police departments. Building mutual understanding can reduce fear and mistrust, helping officers see veterans as allies and heroes rather than suspects. James Carter's story became a catalyst for this dialogue. His wrongful handcuffing wasn't just an unfortunate event, it was a wake-up call to address the intersections of race, service, and law enforcement. The hope is that by improving police training and confronting implicit bias head-on, future veterans will be met with respect and gratitude, not suspicion or hostility. In the end, honoring those who serve means more than ceremonies. It means changing attitudes and systems to ensure every veteran is treated with the dignity they have earned. In the aftermath of the incident involving James Carter, the local police department faced immense public pressure to make meaningful changes. Recognizing the damage done, not only to James but to community trust, the department swiftly implemented new protocols designed to prevent similar situations. Mandatory sensitivity training became a cornerstone of the reform, focusing on two critical areas: recognizing military service and addressing implicit racial bias. Officers were trained to identify military IDs and decorations properly, and to treat veterans with the respect they deserve. More importantly, the training tackled unconscious stereotypes that often lead to mistrust of people of color. Beyond internal training, the department launched community outreach programs, inviting veterans, including James Carter, to speak directly with officers. These sessions fostered dialogue and understanding, humanizing veterans and breaking down harmful assumptions. The outreach aimed to build bridges between law enforcement and the veteran community, creating a partnership based on mutual respect and shared commitment to safety. James didn't stop there. Motivated by his experience, he partnered with several veteran advocacy groups to raise public awareness about veterans' rights. Together, they organized workshops, social media campaigns, and town hall meetings to educate not only police but also the general public about the unique challenges veterans face, especially those from marginalized backgrounds. The movement quickly gained momentum. Public officials and community leaders rallied behind the cause, recognizing that honoring veterans requires systemic change, not just symbolic gestures. At the national level, General Thomas Reynolds launched a campaign titled "Veterans Deserve Respect," aiming to inspire police departments across the country to adopt similar reforms. The campaign called for federal funding to support sensitivity training and better collaboration between law enforcement agencies and veteran organizations. General Reynolds often emphasized, "When we respect those who serve, we strengthen the very fabric of our nation." Police officers and veterans both protect our communities in different ways, and understanding that connection is vital. James Carter became a spokesperson for this national movement, sharing his story at conferences, on TV, and through social media. His message was clear: change is possible, but it requires courage, education, and commitment from everyone involved. Thanks to these combined efforts, many departments began to revise their policies, making progress toward a future where no veteran would be wrongly accused or mistreated because of their service, or the color of their skin. James's painful experience transformed into a powerful force for reform, shining a light on the path forward, a path toward justice, respect, and real change. Respect for those who serve should never be conditional or questioned. It must be automatic, immediate, and unwavering. James Carter's story is a powerful reminder that every veteran, regardless of race or background, deserves to be honored not just in words, but in actions. Having faced injustice firsthand, James now carries a message of hope and determination. "I want future generations to live in a world where veterans don't have to prove their worth or defend their honor. They should be seen and respected from the moment they step back into their communities." His vision is clear: a society that not only celebrates the sacrifices of its veterans but actively works to dismantle the barriers of bias and misunderstanding that still exist. As we close this story, remember that respect isn't something given because it's convenient. It's something earned through courage, sacrifice, and integrity. And it's something we all must demand and uphold. James's journey from handcuffed veteran to advocate is a call to action for all of us. To see every service member, to honor their sacrifices without question, and to ensure that dignity is never delayed or denied again. Because those who protect us deserve nothing less than our highest respect, always.